Well, there certainly is a great deal of maritime heritage here on Delmarva, and one museum in Fenwick Island showcases much of that heritage.
And it's called the Discovery Sea Shipwreck Museum, and that's where we find Delmarva Life's Brian Spyros. Brian, this museum's been around for a while.
Well, you know what, Jimmy? The museum has actually been around since July of 1995. There is a lot of great stuff in here. We're going to show some of it to you, but I first want to introduce you to the man who is responsible for the entire museum, Dale Clifton. You are the owner. First thing, before we start showing some of this stuff, what exactly can people expect to see here in the museum?
Well, Discover Sea houses one of the largest collections of maritime artifacts, especially items from shipwrecks on the eastern seaboard.
So basically you have a lot of stuff in here that you yourself have retrieved from the ocean floor. You literally have brought history to the surface and you showcase it here.
That is correct.
And it's only a fraction of the overall, I guess, collection that you have.
This is only about 10% that we currently have on display. There's about 30-some wrecks represented currently in the museum, but we have things on loan to museums all over the world, and as we find new things, they usually come here in Fenwick first.
There's a lot of stuff in here. Everything has a story. We've been talking for much of the day here. Let's talk about these ballasts right here that are in this display case. They have a very interesting story. Explain it to us.
Well, these particular stones were found on a local wreck site, and basically these were what was known as dual-purpose ballast. Early sailing ships in the early days needed some form of weight in the bottom of the ship to keep the ship in an even keel.
Right.
But many times they would use things besides just bricks and let's say river rocks. In this particular case, they actually were hauling out larger sections of the mine wall, and they actually contained Colombian emeralds.
There's emeralds inside there. So basically, they would then transport them, obviously, as
yeah,
they
would offload them, use them as a ballast, and then offload them as a commodity wherever port that they were going into.
Now, explain to me the story about where you found these and what happened with the surfers.
Well, these were found in very shallow water, and actually the ballast piles still outline the ship itself. But the day that these were brought up, about 1,570 of these rocks, a group of surfers swam over and said, "Man, we are so glad you guys are getting them up off the bottom. We're tired of cutting our feet on them."
And I actually have one right here with the emeralds in it. So you found more than 1,500 of them. How much are these each
Usually
worth?
each rock about $10,000 worth of Colombian emeralds.
So they had all that money underneath their feet, cutting them, and they didn't even realize that. Look at that. They would have been some rich people if they had realized that. So we have this here. We're going to put this down. The other thing we have here is you've retrieved a lot of gold and stuff. Let's show us what's in this bag.
Well, this particular bag is very unique because it houses a 10.5-foot long gold chain, and this is from the shipwreck of the Etosha, which sank in 1622. But this particular chain was so long was because in 1622 the King of Spain taxed anything gold or silver leaving the New World except for jewelry. So to avoid paying the king's tax, everyone wrapped their gold around them like this and walked aboard claiming them as jewelry.
Wow. And who did this belong to, supposedly?
Well, this particular one was made for the Queen of Spain in 1622, and each one of these gold links had the equivalent value of a 2 escudo gold coin, so they could also rip a link off and use it as money to pay for their goods with.
That's something. So these are just a few of the things you have here that we've touched base on, and if you tell us real quick, what made you want to open this museum? Because it's free, you don't receive any funding. What made you want to open this?
Well, growing up and being a kid that was very interested in our maritime heritage and history, I was quite alarmed to find that local museums, a lot of them had wonderful stories to tell, but they didn't have really anything to go along with those stories, any artifacts. So as I started finding things, I decided that I wanted to put these in a place where long after I'm gone, these things could still be here for future generations of children to learn about our maritime heritage.
And a lot of people can come here and definitely enjoy it all. So a lot of great stuff in here, and we've literally touched only the tip of the iceberg, so to speak.
That's
no
correct.
pun intended. There is a Titanic section here. So, all right. So as you can see, we're getting a view of everything in here. We're going to stay here at the museum for a little while longer. We'll be back later on in the show with the shipwreck story and some more items that you may be interested in seeing. I don't know if I'm going to want to let go of this gold chain. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio for right now.
Yeah, Brian, that's some pretty awesome bling you got there.
It certainly is.
Wow. Well, still to come on Delmarva Life. Get the kids moving this holiday at the first ever Firecracker Kids Try in Dorchester County.
How you can get the entire family involved this 4th. Delmarva Life at its best here on Delmarva.